So 20 generations of our ancestors were forced to look at the mosque. They could not see the temple. The 21st generation remembered that and is now going to see the temple. I think that's just unbelievable.
Alia Bhatt is going to be there, but President is not going to be there.
Look, it's just... Here we have 7 lakh Hindus who are refugees in their own land. In 3 days from now, it's going to be 33 years of exile of Kashmiri Hindus. In the last 10 years, we don't have the Congress, right? And all these discriminations are continuing. What is BJP doing here? People are now saying कि ये incomplete है, political बना दिया है BJP ने, temple complete नहीं है, प्राण प्रतिष्ठा हो रही है. चप्पल लाना जरा एक मिनट. It was in 1951 that Nehru, in the wake of, or when Sardar Patel wanted the consecration of Somnath to be rebuilt, he said, I fear it will bring about Hindu revivalism. Then in 1968, there were some Congress leaders, Shyam, that were in that fraudulent Krishna Janambhoomi Sansthan that sold off those 2 acres to the Muslim Eidgah side. Gyan Vyapi has to be reclaimed.
This has been a day that has been in the post for a while. Like people have waited for the Ram Mandir for a while. I've waited for this podcast for a while. And this has been in the post for quite a long time. I remember Anand and I have been trying to get connected and do a podcast together for a long time. Yeah. First time I messaged Anand, his response was, new phone, who dis? Second time I reached out to him, he said, if you message me again, I'll call the police, sir. But eventually, we were able to get connected. I'm very happy that I've been able to do this because I told Anand this offline, but I want to make sure you guys know as well that when I started the channel, Anand was one of the first people that gave a shout out to the show, to me. And he said that, this is somebody that has potential. I've never forgotten it. And I wanted to make sure that when I got connected with Anand, that I said that to him, that how much I appreciated it. So with a large amount of thanks and with a great amount of pleasure, let me welcome to the show for the very first time, Anand Ranganathan. Anand, welcome.
Thank you very much. Baskar pagle ab rulayega kya? No, but honestly, thank you so much, Shyam. But I have to say this, that it has been a singular pleasure to watch you grow so much over the past 4 years it is. And I take real pride that yes, you can use the word spotted because I saw your show and I said, look, this is fantastic. And at that point of time, I don't think even Kushal was podcasting, or it was, I think you were there before him, or maybe he was just starting, or...
Yeah, I think we started off at around the same time.
Maybe around the same time, but he wasn't there. So I said, look, this is something which is... on the so-called other side, which is like the stupid side. I mean, the leftists were always doing this, and they were calling their own people, and it's like a complete nonsensical show that would go on for a couple of hours. And I mean, on this side, I saw that and I said, hey, look, this is refreshing. And you were, it was a no holds barred kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, obviously, it's a matter of pride. Thank you.
I'm very glad to hear that. And there's so many things that I've been meaning to talk to you about, and Ram Mandir obviously being one of them, especially because the Pran Pratishtha is coming up. It's going to be a great big day, and we'll talk about that. But one of the things that really caught me by surprise is when we spoke and connected for the first time. I knew, I want you to explain to the audience this a little bit also, but I knew that you had a contempt of court case going and you were fighting it.
Yes.
What I didn't realize, Anand, is when I spoke to you for the first time is how close that case was. How close it was to going either way. I thought this case chal raha hai. It's obviously it's going to get thrown out. It's probably not a big deal. Yeah. And but when I spoke to you is when I got the down low on it. So for people that might not be aware of this situation and how severe it could have been, tell us how this whole thing even started. Like, where did this contempt of court case even get started?
Yeah, so it's a very long story, but yeah, you're right. In fact, when you talk about it being closed, on the last day when I was, let off, that was the closest it had come to, because the judge actually uttered the word convicted twice. So, so it was absolutely, so yeah, it's closed. But I mean, it all began with, I think the bail was granted to Gautam Navlakha, who's I don't even need to use the quote here because he's a certified urban Naxal. I mean, he's like dictionary definition of what urban naxals are. He's been quoted by, I think, that Ghulam some
Yeah.
ISI stooge, and he was introduced to ISI people, and he wanted some kind of armed revolution in Kashmir, and
Right.
terrorists should be given arms and all those things. So he is a confirmed that kind of a Maoist or a urban Naxal, you can call it. And he was granted bail. And around that same time, the Chief Justice of India said that dissent is the safety valve of democracy, which is great. And I as a free speech absolutist, absolutely agree with it. But then what happened was I even forget, I mean, it's like 4.5 years ago, Justice Muralidhar, he was the one who actually gave bail to Gautam Navlakha. And then it was Vivek Agnihotri, the enfant terrible, who actually wrote a series of tweets insinuating that since the honorable judge's partner or wife was involved either academically or I think as a lawyer, as a partnership or whatever it was, there was a conflict of interest. I mean, he insinuated a conflict of interest.
Okay.
And the next thing it was, I think, Guru Murthy as well. He was the RSS ideologue, and I cherish his vast knowledge in diverse fields. So he's a fantastic. He said the same thing, and Swarajya magazine wrote about it. That Vivek Agnihotri and Guru Murthy ji have said this, insinuated this, and the next thing is they are slapped with criminal contempt of court for this insinuation.
Right.
And the moment that happened, without commenting on whether they were right or wrong, I said, that I stand with their right to disagree. I mean, with their right to free speech. And I said, whatever happened to dissent being the safety valve of democracy?
Right.
So,
and as a free speech absolutist yourself, this is even more of a heartbreaking case for you.
Yes, and so those two tweets, and I didn't even know that I have also been made a contemner. So basically, the criminal contempt of court was slapped on Guru Murthy, on the person who'd written an article that Guru Murthy had forwarded or tweeted, and Vivek Agnihotri, who had that thread, and Swarajya for reporting on it. I mean, this is just so bizarre. It's like if Times of India were to report on, let's say, Beaufort scam, then Kothrochi or the Congress would slap or the judge adjudicating whatever. What else are newspapers for?
Yeah.
So, but anyway, to cut a long story short, I was made a contemner as well, and lucky for some, contemner number 13. Wo main tha.
Oh no, my God.
So this was all before COVID. God knows where the notices were being sent, because I have never received a notice.
Achha.
But as the legal thing goes, that if you get to know about the case that you have been slapped, then that's enough. So you don't need to be sent a notice. If you know that, through hearsay or somebody's told you, "Arey, tere pe to contempt ho gaya." So that is it. Then you need to appear. Basically, then you are made an ex parte. And I don't even know, yaar, मैं अब दोबारा फंस जाऊं कि ना फंसूं, but it's a fact, and I say it without any malice at all. That the judge who made me ex parte कि भाई इसको डालो इसमें, वो है High Court judge, is my roommate. I've never discussed this to anyone. I have never.
Oh my God.
And
He's held this grudge for so many years.
So I used to, as a South Indian, every South
Dekh lunga,
Indian.
Anand. Ek din dekh lunga.
So others have, twin brothers and twin sisters. South Indians, they have a mixer grinder. So my twin is a mixer grinder. So when I went to St. Stephen's College in the residence there, I took my mixer grinder with me. Sounds very funny. So I used to make cold coffee every day. And he was my roomie, and he used to say, मेरे को भी दे. तो एक दो बार तो मैंने दे दी इसको. उसके बाद मैंने इसको देना मना कर दिया. तो हमारी लड़ाई हो गई, जो भी हो गया. And next thing I know, the bugger is just honorable judge.
Have you? Acha, I have to bring this analogy up because I've used this analogy.
Absolutely, so that there is a complete disclosure. I have never contacted him about this matter at all, because I made it a point that I must not, But I just say, because now the case is over, I can talk about it.
Right.
So
But have you ever seen Phir Hera Pheri, that movie Phir Hera Pheri? Have you ever
I think
seen
I've
it?
seen Hera Pheri, but they've been like so many others. I can't even remember
Yeah.
if, I mean, the memes
In
just.
the it's a sequel, right? So in the sequel, there is a scene where Johnny Lever is in a circus area, and there's a little gorilla sitting in a cage eating a
Right.
banana. Johnny Lever's feeling hungry, so he goes and steals the gorilla's banana and runs off. Throughout the entire climax of the movie, because of that one banana that Johnny Lever stole, that gorilla chases him the entire movie. The whole movie, it chases him around, and Johnny Lever's just trying to escape him. And at the end of the movie, Johnny Lever says, "Ki yaar, ek kele ke liye itna jhamela kar raha hai yaar tu." And it reminds me of that exact situation.
I mean, and trust me, I was known as the cold coffee guy. So every
Acha.
afternoon, I would make the best cold coffee in town, and I had my mixer grinder. I think Daily Mix it was called. And I was so possessive about it. और लाइन लगती थी, मैं मजाक नहीं कर रहा. और इसको
Wow.
मैंने 2-3 बार पिलाया. मैंने कहा यार अब बहुत हो गया भाई, क्या कर रहा है तू, रूमी है तो उसका वाला भी है. तो ये उसकी भड़ास, 30 साल पुरानी भड़ास, 30 नहीं ज्यादा हो गया बल्कि 89.
एक कॉफी के लिए इतना झमेला कर रहा है यार तू.
इतना झमेला किया उसने, मतलब इट्स जस्ट अनबिलीवेबल, याद रखा इसने.
Wow.
But
Yeah,
now,
seriously.
my lord, my humble honorable judge, please don't please don't make me appear again before yeah, bilkul. What happened?
So then what happened?
So somebody stole my mixie.
Oh
It was
no.
crazy. I was distraught. I went to the Maurice Nagar police thana. और अंदर से आवाजें आ रही हैं, मत मारो मत मारो. तो वो पुलिस वाला कहता क्या हुआ भाई, क्या चोरी हो गया, सब मर्डर है, आर्सन है, कैसा, मेरी मिक्सी चोरी हो गई. He looked around for his lathi and I ran from there. So anyway,
Did you ever did you buy a new mixie or did you just retire the mixies? Acha.
But even वो खरीदने से पहले I went to the Red Fort के आगे ना वो चोर बाजार लगता था. So my hunch was the guy who stolen it maybe is selling it there. तो वहाँ पूरा I kind of went around there, but I could not find my lovely mixies. I had to buy another one.
अरे नहीं.
Okay, so where were we? Yeah, coming back to this. So I was slapped with criminal contempt of court. This was pre-COVID. बीच में वो कोर्ट नोटिसेस भेजता रहा, मुझे एक भी नहीं मिला. बट जब मैं एक्स पार्टे बन गया, जब मेरे ये रूमी ने ये डाला, दैट मीन्स आई हैव टू अपीयर, आई हैव टू सो it was Sai and Siddharth, belongs to a law firm, and Sai was my senior counsel. I think that's the term that they use. And so they were defending me, and I was asked to appear before a judge. In the last 1 year, 3 benches have changed. So the judge who first saw me, that judge was replaced by another set of 2, and that was also replaced by another. So the final set were these couple of judges that I faced on the 3rd of January. We were asked to appear again after it was said 6 months ago that you don't need to appear. This new set said no, you have to appear. We appeared, and he was a pretty stern judge. And I have to say this, the amicus curiae who's supposed to guide the court was, I mean, I don't know. I don't think he had a personal grudge against me. I'm not saying that at all. I was very impressed by the way he went about his business. He was intent on getting me imprisoned. Absolutely. मतलब पक्का होता था, इसको जेल जाना ही है. ऐसी उसकी वो थी. So half an hour in, the judge was kind of fed up because, he said कि ये कहाँ ले जा रहे हो तुम? This guy is standing for somebody else's free speech, but those people, by the way, so in between, Vivek Agnihotri and Guru Murthy and Swarajya gave unconditional apology. Okay.
Achha.
Yes. So they they gave, Agnihotri also said, I unconditionally apologize. They said, I publicly said, and in front of, I put an affidavit as well. I said, I'm not going to apologize because I have done nothing wrong. In fact, I was, it's like Voltaire who said, I may disagree with you, but I will defend to death your rights to disagree with me. यहाँ तो मैंने एग्री और डिसएग्री भी नहीं किया. मैंने कहा भाई, आई एम नॉट एग्रीइंग और डिसएग्रीइंग विद व्हाट विवेक और गुरु मूर्ति आर सेइंग. आई एम जस्ट डिफेंडिंग देयर राइट टू से. सो आई एम नॉट गोइंग टू अपोलोजाइज. And I had told this much to Sai as well, and the affidavit was written and granted, given to the court and all that. So यहाँ पे ये hearings were going on, and it was, so this case was the first time, मतलब 50 साल लग गए, पहली बार मैं कोर्ट गया. I I
Wow.
saw an Indian court for the first time in my life. I was quite impressed, actually. It's very nice in Delhi High Court. Uh, if a
Right.
little claustrophobic, and there is no gallery, I was expecting that I'll be, monitoring the proceedings. लेकिन मुझसे पहले जो case
Right.
था, my God, these judges, Sham, you have to trust me. The amount of power they have and they exhibit is just unbelievable. ऐसे पुलिस वाले को झाड़ लग रही थी वहां पे. मैंने कहा भाई मैं तो गया.
Oh my
Oh my
God. अगर पुलिस वाले का ये हाल
Oh,
हो रहा है.
all those police
Yeah.
officers, they were like quivering and shivering in their boots.
Oh my
Our turn
goodness.
came, and half an hour of this and that and all that. And the judge said, well, you have to submit an affidavit. Otherwise, it's conviction. I'm convicting you. So Sai looked back, and
Huh.
it was like, bloody hell, what happened, man? This is criminal contempt. And so I said, look, till Siddharth said, in fact, till 4 p.m. we have a right to appeal. Now this is criminal contempt of court, तो इसमें वहीं से ही जेल भेज देते हैं. उसके बाद बेल वेल करो जो भी है. So Sai kept on arguing, and then I kind of tapped Sai's shoulder, and Sai turned back, and I said, I'm not going to apologize. So I said, are you sure? I said, absolutely sure. Then Sai turned, faced the judge, and for the next 40 minutes, I have never seen anyone so possessed, so professional,
Right.
such an expert in my life. I'm not joking, and I don't know if I will
Wow.
listen to this or not, but bloody hell, talk of being impressed. It was unbelievable. There were about 6 or 7 people with us at that point of time in the courtroom behind, And as time went on, 5 minutes turned to 10 to 15 to 20 to 40 as Sai was speaking. I think the word spread. People started coming to our court. They were like 40
Oh,
at the
wow.
end. It's like, and there's this To Kill a Mockingbird. I think that's the
Yeah.
Atticus
Finch.
lawyer. That's right. Yeah. It was unbelievable. And Sai Sai didn't care. And of course, admonishing the judge is unthinkable, but Sai raised his voice, this, that, and he said, look, if he is held guilty, then this would be a mockery of just, I don't know, I'm like paraphrasing now because it wasn't video recorded. So in the end, the judge deliberated, and they said, this is a waste of time, and they let us off. That is it.
Wow.
But half an hour, so the hearing lasted, we were standing for 1.5 hours straight. And half an hour
Right.
into it, the judge was about to convict me. In fact, he used the word conviction. I said, bloody hell.
That's incredible.
So it was like,
That's
I
incredible.
can't thank.
It can be considered a criminal offense. What you did can be considered a criminal offense in India. It's quite incredible and it's quite
I would
frightening.
have been jailed. So I would have, Sai
Right.
would have,
And for what?
for
And for what?
somebody not even disagreeing with, or saying that, yes, I agree with this insinuation that is being made. Absolutely not. I said, this guy has a right to say what he has to
Right.
say. And Sai brought out another analogy, which is my lord. So Sai was trying to first explain what Twitter is to my lord, the judge, what is a quote tweet, what is a retweet, wo thode, purane zamane ke. And then
Oh my
Sai was
goodness.
trying to explain, look, Anand is standing up for the right of a protest march to take place. He's not agreeing or disagreeing with why the protesters are protesting. He's not with the protesters or against them on an issue on which they're protesting. He's just saying they have a right to protest, which is exactly what it was,
Right.
So maybe that,
Right.
but it was very difficult, I'm telling you. I have to say this.
And it went for 2019.
Yes.
And it gets resolved abhi 2023 end, right?
2018, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, 2018.
Yes,
Wow.
yes.
So it's a 5-year-long odyssey, essentially.
Yes.
My goodness, man. Yeah. Like as if the courts don't have enough stuff to do, rather than let's drag this random person
They thought of
through
a
the
waste
ringer.
of time after 5 years. So, at the end, when the judge let us off, and I was like, very happy about it, I have to say this. So I said to Sai, I would like to say a few things to the judge. And I said, absolutely not, bhago. Bhago yahan se, bhai. Niklo yahan se. So I shook hands with the amicus curiae, the guy who wanted me this thing, because I was that I realized, the courtroom, and my respect for these lawyers has gone up. They were each trying to win the case. on merits. There was no personal animosity. Sai did not hate that other guy. He didn't hate Sai. It was brilliant. It was like how science is conducted. You come up with your
Sure.
set of ideas, and let's see, may the best idea win. It was that
Right.
good. So what I wanted to tell the judge, in addition to thanking him for letting me off, was that, I have, okay, I can afford to go drive down to the High Court because it's in Delhi. I'm in Delhi, make 2 appearances. I'm so lucky that Sai represented me. Any common person, the amount of harassment
Right.
that he's gone
Exactly.
through over the last 5 years, and for what? So, what is the punishment to be given to the person who slapped this criminal contempt? I wanted to ask that, and thank God, Sai, in hindsight, Sai, अरे
अच्छा, वहाँ रोक
बाले,
दिया.
अरे कह रहा है, पागल हो गया है क्या तू, निकल यहाँ से, क्योंकि होता, मतलब
Right.
इसके लिए तो छोड़ देता है, उसके लिए पकड़ लेता दोबारा से.
उसके लिए पकड़ लेते.
These
Exactly.
questions need to
Yeah.
be asked, because
But it's a legitimate
what's the
question, right?
penalty? Yeah, I mean, the skin in the game. I mean, that guy. So tomorrow I can slap a criminal contempt of court, and that will drag on for 5 years. That will make you
Yeah.
appear like 10 times, hire a lawyer, and and then at the end the court will say, "Oh, this is a waste of our time, acquitted."
Right.
I mean, it doesn't make sense. So somebody has to pay penalty. Yeah, you can't just. But anyway,
Yeah.
I didn't say that. And thank you, Sai. Otherwise, it would have gone on again.
Well, I'm glad this ordeal is over. I'm glad this albatross is off your neck now. Thankfully, I hope this problem in general, it raises some very important questions, because what if you were a tier 2, tier 3 town person who didn't have a superstar lawyer to help them
I'm
out,
telling you, Sham,
who didn't have the means to,
as I said, on the last day of hearing, 30 minutes down, the judge almost, convicted me. So when you're saying tier 2,
Exactly.
tier 3, na unke paas sai hoga, na itni backup, expert backup of Siddharth and everyone.
And then आपको travel करना है दिल्ली, God knows where you live, you have to travel to Delhi because दिल्ली में case है.
And I was lucky that
Those
Delhi High Court,
things are
because
not
it could
easy.
have, so easily it could have been Guwahati. That is actually one of the ploys.
Yeah.
So,
Right, right,
far-flung court, this thing, and you're summoned there, so you have to go. So there are many people who keep, hopping from one city to the other, making these appearances, because, it's on the whims and
Right.
fancies. So, and to be honest about it, this is something that one would expect. Of course, now this would be a precedence, that I have been let off, and I didn't apologize, and I stood up for this. So this would be, according to Sai, this should be quoted every time somebody accuses
Right.
somebody of not agreeing or disagreeing with what you're saying, but standing up for your right to say it. So this would be this is a precedence, but
I hope it does. I hope it does set a precedent. Yeah.
it's as you say, it is a bit sad, isn't it? That
Yeah.
it came to this. It's weird.
Yeah, it is. It is a little bit scary, and I want to also spend some time talking about your book, because one of the things that I really enjoyed about your book, it's called Hindus in Hindu Rashtra.
Right.
One of the things I really enjoyed about your book is that it is a very brisk read.
It is.
And that is a very underrated quality about the book, because I've read some books where people tend to be very verbose, and sometimes verbosity is considered to be a mark of intellectualism or something.
Yes.
And that's not necessarily the case. You can be very succinct, and you can be very to the point, and you can get your point across effectively and still make the same point.
Yes.
And I really appreciate that about that book. Can I say that first of all? So I really did appreciate that it's a brisk read. I got the same feedback from a lot of people. I finished the book in a weekend, and the points that were made, it was like the book was written by a scientist. मजाक नहीं करते हैं, let's just get to the point, ठीक है? And let's काम खत्म करते हैं, काम निपटाते हैं.
मतलब ज्ञान नहीं पेला, basically.
ज्ञान नहीं पेला, exactly. It was not written by a philosophy major, it was written by a scientist.
Yes.
So I appreciate that a lot. And another thing that I found very interesting about your book was this phrase, which I'm sure it got talked about a lot when people spoke about your book, but you termed it state-sanctioned apartheid against Hindus. And you specifically mentioned without giving too much away, you specifically mentioned, how the government controls temples and only temples. You talked about the Waqf Act. You talked about the RTE, the Right to Education Act. You talked about the Places of Worship Act. Why did you choose that? I'm sure you chose that phrase deliberately. state-sanctioned apartheid. Talk to us a little bit about why you chose that
Right.
phrase.
So first of all, thanks very much, Ham. And I must tell you that I feel blessed and very lucky. So this is the Marathi translation also has come out. So has the Hindi one. And it's been 4.5 months. In fact, it's on 15th of January, which is tomorrow, isn't it? Yes. So it would,
Yeah, it is.
yes.
Yeah.
So it would be exactly 5 months since the English one came out. And overall, all the 3 editions have sold about 59,000 copies,
That's amazing, man.
which is, I mean,
That's so
which is
amazing.
incredible in a country where I think 5 to 10,000 copies sold is considered a bestseller. So I feel very lucky, and I think the length also has to do a lot with it. The I would say the younger generation, not to give my age away and your age away. You're still a youth icon like Rahul Gandhi, but
Well, yeah, Rahul Gandhi is a youth icon. तब तो आप भी youth icon ही है ना भाई. क्या परेशानी है फिर? हाँ.
But I think this is the YouTube generation. This is the audio-visual generation. Books. I mean, you have to evolve. Writers also have to evolve, and to be honest, so this is about I think 55,000 words, the entire book. When I had completed it, it was double the length. So it was like 110,000 words. But I just culled it because I wanted people to, as much as possible, remember the 8 reasons. Because what would have happened was if it was double the length, you would have ended up remembering 3 or 4. I would have gone into depth into possibly half of those and all that. The purpose was that look, I am calling Hindus as 8th-class citizens. If the readers remember only 4, then they'll say, well, we are 4th-class citizens. Or, if they remember 2nd-class. So I wanted them to remember all, and trust me, even today, I was stranded at the airport along with Sai, thankfully, because of the fog and everything. There were people who came to me and they narrated all 8 reasons. So because of this, the brevity of the thing, they are able to remember all the 8 reasons. In fact, many people have come to me, sir, I've got the 9th reason, sir. Next edition, this is the 9th reason. And now I take all their suggestions with an open, mind, and some of them are really good. And I've included those as tidbits in the book as well. And maybe subsequent editions I will. But when I talk about these 8 reasons, they are absolutely watertight. I mean, I didn't want to make them like 15 reasons and all that. Talk about this phrase, state-sanctioned apartheid. Sham, it is a fact that every Indian, all 1.4 billion of us, I mean, adults, maybe, a billion adults or maybe a little bit less than that, we have been discriminated against. There have been biases, Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Isai, everyone, everyone has felt, the wraths of the state or somebody else or the neighbor or the institution or anyone, boss, discrimination has happened across the board, but targeted towards a community, targeted by our constitution, by our judiciary, by our schools, by our universities. That is unique. That is why it becomes an apartheid when the state sanctions it. When people do discrimination, we've seen Muslims being discriminated against, Hindus being discriminated against, but that's not the state doing it,
Right.
When the state passes laws that discriminate only against one community, that is apartheid. Because that is what South African apartheid was all about. The state was passing these laws, the constitutional amendments, through legal means, through, constitutional means, through universities and schools, segregation. So, when the state does it, that is when it becomes apartheid. So these are right examples that Muslims are not bearing the brunt of it at all. So there is no constitutional discrimination against Muslim. In fact, I've said it even before the book came out. I'll be happy if you were to tell me if Muslims are being discriminated against constitutionally. They aren't.
Right.
Why are Hindus? So that.
Can you think of another state out there, जहाँ पर उनके constitution में there are provisions to deliberately discriminate against the majority community?
Impossible. Boy,
isn't that wild? There's no other examples.
It's great. I mean, so rhetorically, I asked this: are there Americans who are refugees in America? Are there Germans who are refugees in Germany? It's unthinkable, yeah. But here we have 7 lakh Hindus who are refugees in their own land for 33 years. In fact, in 3 days from now, it's going to be 33 years of exile of Kashmiri Hindus. 19th January was 1990 when they were driven out. And, scores were murdered, were raped. And we've seen all those stories. Kashmir Files, Vivek's own film, narrated just 5 instances. There are so many. That was discrimination that happened. So that discrimination wasn't state sanctioned. It was just the neighbors, the Muslims, the other community. They drove them out, through their supremacist views and through basically discrimination. But the state allowed it to happen. And the state allowed it to happen not just in 1990. The state allowed it to happen for the next 33 years. Which country? I mean, so India has settled 40,000, now 50,000 Rohingya Muslims, but it hasn't settled 7 lakh Hindus. Yeah, it's just unbelievable. And the funny thing is, then when I started thinking about the book, it came out as that I'll give a talk, and I did give a talk, and that was the genesis of it. So that also is something to do with, the appeal of the book is that it's almost very conversational. Many people have said, so it's like, when you talk about your daily debates and all that stuff, it just feels you're talking to us. And I wanted that, because I didn't want it to be academic in that. So it has 180 to 200 odd references. So if somebody wants to find out, this claims true or not, so there are references there. But I didn't want it to be academic. I wanted it to be conversational, because these are things that people must know and talk about, and not just say that, yes, the Congress is responsible for all of these over the last 70 years, but in the last 10 years, we don't have the Congress, right? And all these discriminations are continuing. So BJP is also, the questions have to be asked of the BJP, and answers have to be demanded. So I want that as a conversation, not just academic, that, oh, look, Congress discriminated, BJP is carrying on. No. What is BJP doing here? Why the Place of Worship Act? Why has the BJP left it to the courts to decide whether to abrogate it or not? Did it leave it to the courts to decide whether to abrogate Article 370 or to bring in CAA? No, it didn't. When it wants to do it, it does of its own volition, which is fantastic. I agree with it.
Right.
I support it. Like I supported the farm laws. Why is it not abrogating? And to be very honest with you, when you talk about state-sanctioned apartheid, you cannot find a more appropriate example than the first clause of democracy, Sham, should be that any citizen should have a right to seek justice. If that doesn't happen in a nation, then I'm sorry, it's not a democratic nation. I keep it very simple, Occam's razor. Any citizen, 1.4 billion people, can they approach the courts over any issue? That is what democracy is. You've seen Article 370 was abrogated. People were against the abrogation. They went to the court. Although it wasn't really a judicial matter, it was a legislative matter. The court adjudicated. Right. So here, 1 billion Hindus were disallowed. They could not go to even the courts to seek justice, to reclaim their demolished temples. It's all right. I mean, if the court can...
So just to be clear, you're talking about the Places of Worship Act, which I agree is such a fundamentally stupid law.
I mean, it's just unbelievable.
Like it's incredible. So
it's demonic.
I think the law states that up to the point of like 15th August 1947,
yes,
with the exception of the Ram Temple,
yes,
you cannot change the religious character of any religious site in India.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Which is such a stupid law.
And couple of things there, because as I got over the last couple of years, I've been very privileged to know a lot of amazing people. And Vishnu Sai is, of course, one of them. Vishnu Jain and his father, Hari Jain ji, are another, who are,
what a service they're providing.
Oh my God, it's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yeah, shout out.
It's just absolutely, And I hope, has he been on your podcast, Vishnu?
No, but I would love to have him.
Oh, yes. You must.
I would love it.
I mean, you absolutely must. I'll also tell him. In fact, I'm meeting him tomorrow. I'm going to tell him.
Please do. Please tell him that Sham would, love to have you on.
Yes. So I did not know of, for example, the Waqf Act before I met Vishnu. I did not know very much about the Place of Worship Act before I met. Most of these things I didn't know. And so when I thought of writing about it, these 8 reasons are out of those, maybe 3 or 4 I knew. Other 4 I didn't know at all. Kashmiri refugees I got to know because Aarti Tiku, our friend, she spoke about it. Ayat Raj call, and there's so many other friends. They've been suffering. Rahul Shiv Shankar's, our family is a Kashmiri Hindu family, so that we get to know. It's in the popular discourse, but Place of Worship Act, Waqf Act, nobody knew about these things. And the irony is that Hindus cannot approach the court to even put in a petition. My lord, you can see, look, my lord, I'm being bombastic here because I've won the case, so I can talk like, look, my lord, you can see the Kashi Vishwanath temple pillars. You can see the mosque domes built on top of it. My lord, this was ours, Can we ask you to please adjudicate whether you should give this to us or not? Even that Hindus can't do.
Yeah.
Let the judge say, no, I will not give Gyan Vyapi to you. Let the judge say. But at least the judge should be in a position to say that. Na, yahan to court bhi nahi jaane de rahe. And the irony, which Vishnu told me, I didn't even know this. The irony, so Owaisi says, oh, look, we cannot talk about Kashi Mathura because that will violate the Place of Worship Act. Vishnu said apparently that the other side has already violated Place of Worship Act. So there used to be a Vyas Parivar inside the Gyan Vyapi who were allowed to worship the idols, the Shivling. There was a people tree inside the Gyan Vyapi that was chopped off. Hanuman idols were removed from there. Small Shivlings were. So the religious character of that Gyan Vyapi has been changed after the Place of Worship Act came into being. The other side has changed it. Uske liye sab chup hai.
Wow.
It's so bizarre. But you know what saddens me? Because, okay, so any decision by any politician doesn't sadden me. Very rarely, because politicians by nature are hypocrites. Yeah, I mean, that is what politics is. They will say something, they will do and something entirely another. Maybe if not the next day, maybe 2 years from now. Sometimes miraculously they do it the next day, like our Prime Minister. He said Ajit Pawar is a perpetrated 70,000 crore scam. He is very corrupt.
Right.
Next day he was inducted into the government. Sometimes What really angered me, the Supreme Court in its 2019 Ayodhya judgment, which was about Babri, they have ratified the Place of Worship Act. They have said it is a good act. It is going to maintain peace and harmony in this country. All these things they did not have said it. So I think they did virtue signaling. They said, चलो भाई अब ये राम मंदिर land दे रहे हैं, ये कर देते हैं Muslims. ऐसा कुछ सोचा.
Overcompensation.
Yes. And by the way, this is not insinuation. So अब ये ना हो कि साला अब
now every time Anand says something for like 2 seconds, he's like, legally sense to ban raha hai na.
And anyway,
just have to use my legal brain for 2 seconds.
Millions of viewers, that what people have also started doing is they're fishing out, a 1 minute bite of what I said years ago, or even in this podcast, they will like chop and change and say, "अरे इसने ये कहा भाई, तो भाई ये शैम के लिए कर दो, मेरे लिए मत करना." अभी मुझे
अभी 5 साल झेल के आया यार. अभी 5 साल थोड़ा सांस तो लेने दो यार. 5 साल. अभी 2029 में कुछ करना हो तो करना.
Islamist fact checker. I want to ruin your podcast by even taking his name, but you know who he is. So he fished out something that I had said 2018, 6 years ago, and he truncated it. But he says that because I truncated it for 8 minutes, it is not truncation. You can't accuse me of truncation. क्यों भाई? 8 मिनट का ट्रंकेशन नहीं होता क्या? तो पढ़ा लिखा नहीं है, वो अलग बात है, जो भी है. और उसको लोगों ने सर पे चढ़ा रखा है. तो उसने गधे ने ये नहीं सोचा कि भाई मैं एक पॉलिटिशियन की तरह हिपोक्रेट नहीं हूँ. If I believe in something, then it is based on logic and rationale, and the overwhelming chances are that I still believe in it.
And also, I would the only thing I would say to that it is completely normal to change your opinion in light of fresh evidence.
Absolutely.
Something that you said or believed in 6 years ago doesn't necessarily have to be true in 2024 because maybe you were presented with new evidence and you were like, oh, you know what? Now it makes sense.
Yes.
Hence, I changed my opinion.
Yes.
That is a very human thing to do.
That's a human thing to do, but I don't like doing that. Because I
Achha.
want things to be so watertight कि एक बार सोच सम ये तो या तो कहो मत, अगर कह रहे हो तो इतना सोच समझ के कहो कि चेंज ना होना पड़े. But I agree with you. That's how science works. You bring out something on the table, you publish it, and new evidence comes along that either negates your theory. So you should be man enough to accept that, say, yes, I retract whatever, and I absolutely fine. Or you change your things. But whatever people bring, I still stand by those,
Sure.
So whatever he brought, I said, yeah, absolutely. And I gave the reason. So he did not explain the reasons that I gave why I took that stand, because he wanted, and क्या करता है कि वो जिहादीज तो पीछे पड़ते ही हैं, that's I don't care about that. But अपनी side वाले लोग भी, a lot of people who have some, I don't know, some issues, and also they also jump in, and it becomes like
pile up, yeah. It is funny that on social media, in every echo chamber, there is a level of purity tests. There are some purity tests that you must pass.
Yes.
है ना, अग्नि परीक्षा आपको पास करनी है. अगर आपने ये अग्नि परीक्षा पास नहीं की तो टीम से निकाल दिए जाएंगे.
Yes.
And unfortunately, that's not how the real world works.
So the biggest this test, purity test that comes is that people say, oh, this guy wanted Babri to be remade, rebuilt brick by brick. And I said that. What they don't realize is that whenever somebody reminds me of it, I say thank you for reminding it, but I reminded thousands of people myself. Every time I get a chance, I say this, and I'm proud of it. I'm proud that I said if I was P.V. Narasimha Rao, I would have rebuilt Babri brick by brick and waited till the time Supreme Court adjudicated on it. Because I am proud of what Hindus did. Yeah, your most sacred place, most sacrosanct place, 1 billion people left it in the hands of 5 people to decide.
Yeah.
Will 1 billion Muslims
never.
5 people to decide? 1 billion Christians? No. So, I'm proud of that fact. I want to celebrate that Hindus did not resort to writing their history with the grammar of anarchy, to borrow Dr. Ambedkar's phrase. They use the lexicon of justice. It's so beautiful, So I'm proud of having said that. People don't realize it. कहते हैं, पहले तो ये कहता था, आजकल बना हुआ है, अरे भाई मेरे views change नहीं हुए हैं.
Right.
Yeah.
So coming back to your book, if I were to ask you, Anand, कि for you, जो आपने problems list किए हैं, but if I were to ask you to create like a priority list of items that if you were in charge, that you would fix it in order of priority, what would you choose?
If I was Narendra Modi for a day, you mean?
Yeah, if you were in charge, yeah. What are the priority list items for you?
Yeah. So, within 24 hours, I would abrogate at least 2 acts immediately. Places of Worship Act, within not just 24 hours, within 2 minutes. And Waqf Act, within 2 minutes, flat. And within a day, I would amend the RT Act so that the conjunction of it with the 93rd Amendment that allows the minority-run schools to not keep the 25% EWS quota, but the Hindu-run schools to keep that quota, I would remove that discrimination. So, आधे दिन में ये 3 तो चले गए. I would then say that I want, within the next 3 months, I want a concrete plan for 7 lakh Kashmiri Hindus to be rehabilitated. To be rehabilitated either in the valley, in Israeli-like, communes and communities or settlements, something. They have to be taken back. No question about it. तो वो 4 वहां पे हो गए. 5वां एक था जो legislation था, ये सब जो नाम, I would remove that Bakhtiarpur का नाम, I would remove it. I would, for example, immediately, kind of put plaques around the mausoleums of these barbarians that people go and pray. For example, Aurangzeb ke aage. I am not for demolishing things and all that, but history should be known to people. So outside the Dargah in Ajmer, outside the Aurangzeb's mausoleum or grave, his reality would be written there. I would. So you want to pray here? आके पढ़ लो पहले. पढ़ लो. इसमें किया क्या था? 4.6 million Hindus को मारा था, हमारे गुरुओं को behead किया था, और इतने temples destroy किए थे. ये पढ़ लो. उसके बाद भी अगर आपको pray करना है, then you pray. तो आधे लोग तो अगर उनमें थोड़ी शर्म होगी, इंसानियत होगी, तो शर्मसार हो जाएंगे, बट ऐसी नहीं होगी, बिकॉज दैट्स द वे one is brought up,
Right.
unfortunately.
But at the very least, right? Where at the very least, आपको आपकी ये ड्यूटी बनती है as the government कि आप properly educate करो लोगों को आपकी
और
अपनी
अभी
history
2
के
दिन
बारे में,
पहले
अपने
ही,
historical
and
figures के बारे
I
में.
was 2 दिन पहले ही, our prime minister has offered this chadar to Ajmer Dargah Sharif and Nizamuddin, not Chishti, and I verbatim quoted what he said, that I've come to India to destroy temples, to take
Yeah.
care of the infidels, to convert them and all that. Now, when the prime minister is doing this, तो बाकी लोग फिर मतलब वो तो वही है ना कि यार दे विल सी कि यार
Yeah.
भाई तू क्या, तू तो झूठ बोल रहा है, तुझे तो पता ही नहीं हिस्ट्री, ये तो देखो, ये तो चादर चढ़ा रहे हैं, ये तो मोस्ट रिवियर्ड कह रहे हैं. सो
Yeah.
व्हाट नेक्स्ट, द प्राइम मिनिस्टर गोइंग टू यूलोजाइज टीपू सुल्तान. So, and the funny thing is, the BJP asked for Aurangabad, the city, to be changed, but BJP didn't do it. The last day of the Maha Vikas Aghadi, it was Uddhav Thackeray's government. The last day they took the decision to change Aurangabad to something.
Yeah. Yeah.
BJP ये सब ना बहुत बत्ती करते रहते हैं, to use that phrase.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
think you know that colloquial.
Smart party है, दाएं हाथ को पता नहीं चलना चाहिए बाएं हाथ क्या कर रहा है.
Master, as the Rascal Cool Funny shirt says, master stroke.
Yeah.
Chappan Kranti
Master
कहना
stroke,
चाहिए.
exactly. Master stroke है.
Master stroke.
And with your book as well, are you, number one, where is it available? Where can people go and get it?
Yeah. So it's
Number
on,
two.
yeah, it's on Amazon.
So just I have a second follow-up question to that as well. So number one, where can people get it? Number two, do you have any plans for a Kindle version or an Audible version?
Okay, gosh, that's a good idea. I think Audible version is a good idea because, as I just said, I think the audio-visual is this generation is audio-visual generation. So I'll definitely, thanks so much. I'll propose this to my publisher, Praveen. He's fantastic. Blue One Ink is an amazing publishing house. So I'll do that. I think that's a great idea. Yeah, but we haven't really thought of that as yet. There is a Telugu and a Bengali version coming soon. I think that's what my publisher informed me. But I think it's important.
So can they go get it on Amazon? Is that the easiest place to get the books?
Yes, that's the easiest place. But there is also Padhega India. So there are a lot of portals now, specifically catered to Indic books and books by Indic authors. So I'm very lucky that a lot of those portals are selling this. And it's been number one bestseller for the last 4.5 months now. It's just unbelievable.
Wow.
It refuses.
That's fantastic. Guys, please go check the book out. I read it. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed how the brevity of it. I really enjoyed how to the point it is. It does not waste your time with profundity. It gets to the point, and I think it really helps in it's really establishing those points in your head. Yeah. You remember them when you're done with the book. 2 weeks later, you remember those points. So I think it's a great book. I really recommend it. Please check it out. And let's now come to the Ram Mandir. I know I got so many questions when I said I'm going to be talking to Anand. I got, ask him this about Ram Mandir, ask him this about Ram Mandir. Yes. So I'll let me start with this. The Pran Pratishtha is going to happen on the 22nd. The podcast will be out before that. Why do you think this is important for India? Because there's a lot of people within India that don't get it. Yeah. There's a lot of people, I'm sure, outside of India, if you have a foreign audience listening to us, they'd be like, what is the big deal? Why are these people so bloody obsessed with this one temple? Yeah. Why is it a big deal?
So I would say, and I speak as a Darwinian atheist, civilizational Hindu, and I've made my positions very clear over years. So this is absolutely nothing new that I'm saying. I would say this is a cornerstone for every Indian who's alive. I'll tell you why. And I've said this, I think, on the day of the judgment came out, 2019, I think November 11th or what it was, I can't remember the exact date, is that why do we call what we call a civilization? What does it mean? There are empires and there is civilization. What does it mean to be, to have or to be the keeper of the flame of a civilization? Is it sartorial? That's how you dress. Is it your culture? Are those literary writers, your output, cinematic or visual or dance form? What is it? Because there are real monsters who've been great painters, who've been great writers, who've killed millions, but who've done some great things for their country. Is that what civilization is? On the other hand, there are empire builders who've certainly done wrong things because they've subjugated other cultures, sometimes annihilated it because they felt that it is our God-given right to do so because we're stronger than others. And then I realized civilization, I think the true hallmark is that you are going to fight for to correct the historical injustices. You are going to fight to remember what your ancestors fought and lost. That is what shows the continuity. Otherwise, what do we care about what happened 500 years ago? But
Right.
humans do care. Humans feel a pang of some regret. It's a remarkable thread that connects us to our ancestors. And I'm just not just talking about genetic thread, because obviously that is scientific and that's detached. I'm talking of an emotional thread. And think about it. Why is that there? I was born 50 years ago. Why should I care about my ancestor 1,000 years ago? Why? It doesn't make sense at all. But it makes such profound sense, because when they suffered, they possibly, and everyone must read Dr. Meenakshi Jain's amazing books, and where she goes into such great detail in explaining why, when there was trouble for our Hindu ancestors, and the pillagers and the invaders were there, and they were raping and pillaging and destroying temples, they hid the idols they put it in deep inside wells, or they dug the ground, and they kind of put the idols there, and they told their sons and daughters that one day take them out.
Yeah.
And they didn't know that one day would be a decade from then, or 2 decades, or 100 years, or 500 years. And Sham, think about it. So 500 years ago, the Babri Masjid came, on this structure that the
Right.
Supreme Court has admitted was of Hindu origin. So there is no doubt about it. Whatever the Chauthi fail leftists say, that there was no. I mean, the evidence was not only unearthed by the ASI, when post the Ayodhya judgment, when the real digging began to build the new Ram temple, they unearthed so many, plaques and reliefs and murals and idols, that absolutely ascertained that there was a Hindu temple.
But Anand, don't you know that this is a Buddhist Jain structure which was actually built by the ancient aliens and then handed over to Gautam Buddha?
Yes.
Are you not aware of this argument?
The first alien obviously was Mao.
Exactly, of course.
So, and it's just a matter of thinking about just the ability, the chance to correct a historical injustice. That's most important. Most important, to keep the continuity. It's memory that's passed on. It's just passed on to you, and we are so lucky. And when I was talking of 500 years ago, so in 500 years, you can roughly say it's 20 generations. 30 generations, 30 years of one generation. So 20 generations of our ancestors were forced to look at the mosque. They could not see the temple. The 21st generation remembered that and is now going to see the temple. I think that's just unbelievable. That alone is reason enough. It's just civilizational. It's nothing to do with Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Isai, nothing at all. It's just this has been passed on to us. We are nothing
Yeah.
if we don't care about this. Historical wrong was committed, and that's why I was a bit annoyed when, and I said it on that same day when Dr. Mohan Bhagwat said कि हर जगह शिवलिंग ढूंढने की जरूरत नहीं है, हर मस्जिद में नहीं. मैंने उसी रात को कहा था, अगर 40,000 जगह भी गार्ड निकालोगे, वहीं 40,000 जगह ढूंढो, हर जगह ढूंढो. क्यों ना ढूंढे भाई?
Because truth ke bina reconciliation to nahi hoga na. It's called truth and reconciliation.
Yes, and there are places, and you talk to Vishnu, and when he comes on your podcast, please spend enough time, and he will beautifully explain to you the lengths to which he and his father have gone for to reclaim for us Mathura, Krishna Janambhumi. It is unbelievable. I mean, you hear the story. He spent half a day explaining to me 100 बार मथुरा के ट्रिप्स लगाए अपने एक्सपेंस पे, पता नहीं कौन कौन सी कोतवाली में घुसे, छोटे छोटे कोर्ट्स में घुस के ओरिजिनल सेल डीड डॉक्यूमेंट लेके आए। और ये पता चला कि 1968 में जो कृष्ण जन्मभूमि संस्थान ने जो बेचा मुस्लिम्स को कि हाँ ईदगाह यहाँ पे लेजिटिमेट है, उनके पास तो प्रॉपर्टी पेपर्स है ही नहीं ओरिजिनल। ये तो वो बंटी बबली में जैसे था, ताजमहल बेच दिया था ना। This has happened, यार.
God.
It's crazy. What is happening in this country is crazy, you know. So, I mean, hats off to people like Vishnu and Hari and
Yes.
and why are they doing this, yeah? And I'm not even going into the fact that they are Jains, technically a minority. I mean, Vishnu thinks that he is a sect, he's a Hindu sect, and he worships Lord Krishna. And in addition to,
and it goes back to people saying ki, what is the big deal?
Yes.
But if you think about Sri Ram, like he resides in every single nook and cranny of this country.
यार आप Indian, कोई भी Indian से किसी से बात करो कि what are the two things that typifies India or what makes you Indian? Within 5 seconds, those two things will come out as Mahabharata and Ramayana. किसी से पूछ लो, ऐसा है।
कहानी सबको पता है,
सबको
whether they have read it or not, या उनको पढ़ना लिखना भी आता हो या नहीं, कहानी पता है,
सबको पता है। तो ये I am not a believer, but I revere our civilization, the endowments, the beauty, the scripture. It's just beautiful. And why shouldn't I participate in something that is going to be resurrected? People are now saying कि ये incomplete है, political बना दिया है बीजेपी ने, temple complete नहीं है, प्राण प्रतिष्ठा हो रही है। Well, the tragedy is that लोगों को history अपनी नहीं मालूम। जब सोमनाथ का consecration हुआ था 1951 में, I think, तब भी सोमनाथ टेम्पल नहीं बना था जो नया बना है, 10 साल लगे उसको बनने में, लेकिन ज्योतिर्लिंग की प्राण प्रतिष्ठा हुई।
और बेटे इतना बवासीर हो रहा है तो तुम्हें ही बना लेना था मंदिर, क्यों नहीं बनवाया 50 साल में?
तो इतना लोग मतलब I just and some of the reasons are legitimate, I have to say, and I'm very disappointed. I say this, यार लोग बुरा माने ना माने, I am beyond that now, क्योंकि यार कर लो भाई, जो भड़ास निकालनी है निकाल लो।
I have transcended this plane of existence.
ये absolutely across the Rubicon. कि I believe चारों शंकराचार्य होने चाहिए थे। I think it's not right. और ये पर वही है ना कि हम वो ऐसे चलता चला गया। The people who are in charge of it, they should have made sure, that the first 4 invitations, they should have made sure when things go public, all 4 Shankaracharyas should have been there. Sure. So that's just one of the things that needs to be there. They should have made sure that the president is there. Yeah, president is not invited. अब वो मतलब इतना अजीब लग रहा है, ये ट्रस्ट कैसी है कि आलिया भट्ट is invited.
I was going to say, Alia Bhatt is going to be there, but president is not going to be there.
It's just, क्यों यार, क्या कर रहे हो आप ये? Nothing against Alia Bhatt, by the way.
Sure.
Let her go and enjoy and
right.
Basically worship whatever जो भी है. But it's just so jarring. I can't. I mean, even saying this is embarrassing for an Indian. कि Alia Bhatt is going to be there, but President of India is not going to be there. So and in the consecration of Somnath, it was done by Babu Rajendra Prasad, the President of India. Well, it is. There is no doubt about it. But the larger picture क्या है कि भाई इसमें मोदी मैटर नहीं करता, बीजेपी मैटर नहीं करता, आलिया भट्ट ने, प्रेसिडेंट नहीं, शंकराचार्य, कोई मैटर नहीं करता। ये मैटर करता है कि 500 साल तक हमारी 20 जनरेशंस वहां पे मस्जिद देखती थी। ये मैटर करता है कि 21वीं वहां पे राम टेम्पल देख रही है, बस ये
that's what matters.
That's all.
Yeah.
Everything else is out of the window.
It's interesting to me because I'm sure you've had this question given to you a lot of times as well. And, I talk to Kushal often and he gets this question answered too. And जब मैंने announce किया था कि I'll be talking to you, I got this question as well that, Anand considers himself an atheist.
Yes.
And why is an atheist so invested in the Ram temple? Why is an atheist such a proponent of a Hindu civilizational state?
Yes.
Why does an atheist have such an affinity to Hindu culture and Hindu civilization?
Okay, so let me answer it in 2 ways. One, I think I've partly explained it because it is, for me, the continuity of my ancestors. Something, the historical wrong is going to be corrected by our generation. And we owed it to our ancestors. So, there is this thread that is maintained. So that is one of the reasons why
Sorry to cut across you, Anand, but just to qualify, the reason I'm asking this question is because, I think the people's understanding of like atheism comes from like Western atheism, like French atheism, which is you have to be completely and utterly divorced from everything Christian or everything that is based in that religion. You have to completely divorce yourself from it, and you have to be very anti that religion.
Okay.
From that point onwards, that is what sort of Western, atheism that comes out of Christianity, or atheism that comes out of Islam.
Right.
That's what that looks like.
Okay.
How is Indian atheism different for you?
Sorry, atheism that comes out of Islam? That's like heading.
Whatever जो बचे हैं बेचारे, जो अभी तक जिंदा हैं, जिनको पकड़ा नहीं है लोगों ने, जो शक्लें छुपा के थोड़ा इंटरनेट पे बोलते हैं, बात करते हैं.
Punishment
Yeah,
for
those poor guys. Yeah.
But okay, so I've been qualifying this, the type of atheist I am. So I'm a Darwinian atheist as opposed to the chauthi fail leftist atheist, जो अपने आप को atheist कहते हैं, But they don't understand what the term actually means scientifically. So you're quite right. I mean, there is something called being an agnostic, and there is something called being an atheist. You doubt the existence of God, and atheist doesn't just believe in God at all. I mean, let's put it that way. And personally, to me, although I'm just so enchanted by the amazing stories of our Hindu scriptures, of what I've been taught by my grandparents, by parents, and everything every Hindu child has been. I just don't believe in God. That's so. That is the reason. Very quickly, to cut a very long story short, Darwinian atheist. That is who I am. Coming back to this question, I cannot escape, and I don't want to escape the world that has been made for every child who's born in India. It's a glorious, beautiful world. It is a world, when you come to the Mahabharata, it explains the human condition, as Naipaul called it, or as Stefan Zweig wrote about it beautifully. Talk about the dichotomies or the philosophical conundrums of modern day life. That is the Mahabharata. Lot of issues, family strife. Or you talk about Ramayana, the supreme sacrifice, the Ram Rajya, the absolute moral and ethical values that one must always adhere to, even at the cost of, saying, oh my God, how can you do this? How can you take Agni Pariksha? How can you do this on the whims and fancies? But all those things have been written about. And that is the world every Indian child has been born in. Irrespective of, now you're converted, yes, so maybe those stories are becoming more and more distant from Muslims and Christians, be that as it may. But I still believe that all of us are in this, the kind of a bubble, a beautiful bubble. Yes. And we are inside it. I don't want to escape that. I love it, So I don't think believe in God has got anything to do with it. Yes, a lot of miracles that a lot of believers, Hindu believers, believe that, yes, they actually did. A lot of those, multi-limbs or flying or, those amazing weapons and, all those things. As a scientist, I can't believe in them.
Anand, are you telling me that we did not invent the internet 5,000 years ago? How dare you, man?
Flying horses, maybe.
हद करते हो यार, हम 5G बना के बैठे हुए 5,000 साल पहले, आपको समझ में नहीं आ रही बात?
So, I love this creation. I love this what has been created for every Indian child, not just Hindu child. Why would I want to escape it? And personally, I believe Hinduism is a way of life, and whatever the religious aspects of it are an offshoot of a way of life. In Islam, the way of life is an offshoot of the religion, So right. Our religious aspect, it's more mutatable because ways of life change. So many new things come in. We adapt more to the changing environment. It's like we evolve. Whereas if your way of life has been strictly adhered to your religious diktats, you will not reform, you will not evolve. And that is what we see, in other religions.
Right.
Christianity now less so because Reformation came 400-500 years ago. But in other religions, you don't. I mean, in Islam, everything is, Quran is the byword for everything. That is how you're supposed to lead. A good Muslim is supposed to lead his or her life.
Right.
It is not like that. You talked about Kushal. I mean, Charvak. Which other quote-unquote religion will profess a philosophy of atheism. Yaar. I mean, look at the
Right.
contradiction in it. But that's the glorious.
And look at the way that Hindus have embraced Bhagwan Mahavir. Look at the way the Hindus have embraced
Every
Gautam Buddha.
person who wanted to go away and has formed a quote-unquote sect has been celebrated. You have one of the Dashawataras is Lord Buddha. You know,
We didn't burn him at the stake. We
Yes.
embraced him.
and
Yeah.
Lingayat, they don't believe in the Vedas. You know, Charvak, Dayanand Saraswati, a reformer, and his book. If it was about any other religion, Satyarth Prakash, he would have been burnt at the stake. In fact, did you know that only one community asked for the Satyarth Prakash, Dayanand Saraswati ji's book to be banned? It weren't the Hindus; it was the Muslims,
Right.
because it talks
And,
about Islam as well. So
Yeah, look at Savarkar. He's a staunch rationalist. He's an atheist.
Yes.
In fact, he goes so far as to say that Hindus are stupid to consider cows a sacred animal.
yes, yeah,
He is still embraced by the Hindus.
yes. So
Still loved and embraced by the Hindus.
it's something glorious. People don't realize it. People just don't realize it. Our endowment, and this is a part of that endowment. And reclaiming Gyanvyapi, rebuilding Kashi Mathura, Kashi, the temple there, Kashi Vishwanath, rebuilding the Mathura temple there, bringing the idols that Aurangzeb took from Mathura all the way to Agra and put them on the steps of the Jahanara mosque so that people would trample on them, Muslims, bringing those idols back, consecrating them. That is our duty, यार. वरना आप अपने आप को हिंदू क्यों कह रहे हो? सिविलाइजेशनली आप क्या हो? फिर डिस्कनेक्ट है. जियो ना अपनी लाइफ में, एक कोकून में, यार मजा करो. Yeah.
Right. So before I let you go on, and I want to do a quick section on the show that we call Hot Takes, where I will give you some of the hot takes from around the internet related to the Ram Mandir.
Okay.
And I want your reaction on it. You can give me a short reaction or a long reaction, completely up to you.
Sure.
So the first hot takes comes through us from, obviously, the most trendy one is from the Congress party.
Yes.
Who came out with a statement, and they declined the invitation to go to the Pran Pratishtha.
Yeah.
They said a couple of things. The first hot take that they gave was that we believe that religion is a personal choice. Religion or politics ko mix karna galat hai. I feel like that's a very hot take, Anand, coming from the Congress party.
So मैं ये कह रहा हूँ, सालों ने आज तक और किया क्या है?
वही तो. That's what I'm saying.
It's crazy. I
So
mean, how can people be
I thought
so
it was very interesting for them to say that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a joke. I mean, you look at the Shah Bano judgment, where they practically the poor widow who was asking for 100 rupees alimony is thrown on to the streets. They overturned a Supreme Court judgment. I mean, was that not interfering in something that's saying religion and politics? Religion is personal. The Hajj subsidy, the iftar parties, controlling Hindu temples, the Congress Endowment Acts that it brought out in 1959. When you look at a host of other things, when you look at Congress sending emissaries of Congress party and our ministers at the canonization of Mother Teresa, Sonia Gandhi sending it. What was that?
Yeah.
So, but
अरे जब इनको हिंदू से वोट चाहिए थे तो इंदिरा गांधी also adopted a cow and her bachda as a election
cow
symbol.
and bachda was, yes, absolutely. So
Religion और politics को mix करना बहुत गलत है.
yeah.
So wrong. The other hot takes comes from us. This was a series of tweets that Rajiv Chandrasekhar had posted when the Bhumi Pujan ceremony had happened. And I think it's very relevant right now as well, because the Pran Pratishtha is going to happen. A journalist, I use the word journalist very loosely in this regard, but a journalist named Rana Ayub had tweeted that the Ram Mandir is our collective shame as a nation.
Really?
That's her hot take, and I would like your response as to why do you think she considers a temple being rebuilt to be a collective shame for the nation of India?
Well, I think she's probably right when she says collective shame if she doesn't specify which nation.
That's true.
Maybe her nation is different from our nation, which is perfectly all right, because it might be a collective shame for Pakistan. But I mean, there's no point in talking about these irrelevant semi-literates at all, because they have an agenda. And if they
Right.
don't, then they've been brainwashed through their, scriptures, or to the people who teach them how to live their lives. They've been brainwashed to the extent that they hate everyone else. So reconciliation for them is impossible, and it's not just this woman, Rana, or man, I don't know who this person is. Yeah, but it's been 1,000 years. This is the story that goes on and will go
Yeah.
on. So they and Naipaul wrote about it. His amazing two perceptive books, Beyond Belief and Among the Believers. And he said that this is what the newly converted do. They are they are asked to forget their roots. They are ordered and asked to, only remember or think of the sand dunes, to look lovingly at the sands of Arabia. And that is what
Right.
even people in Malaysia are doing, you know. So, this is the first thing. This is the first thing, you completely empty your mind of anything, any beautiful thing that your civilization gave you, because this is and as they say, the newly converted, you're trying to be more Catholic than the Pope. So I don't know how
Right.
this person would work, but I think it is a shameful thing to say. It's a collective shame, because it's actually, it's just more than being a collective pride. It is what we are supposed to do, and if we
Yeah.
don't do this, then it is a collective shame. If we do not
Yes.
reclaim Kashi Vishwanath, then it is a collective shame. If we do not reclaim Mathura, then it is a collective shame. So all those people
Yes.
who eulogize Aurangzebs and the beheaders of our gurus and killers, rapists of 4.6 million Hindus, perpetrated genocides, let them eulogize them. We
Yeah.
don't care about that, because they will always do it. Remember, they want, and you don't even have to believe me. You look at what Dr. Ambedkar wrote about Daral Harb and Daral Islam. You want
Yeah.
everything to be converted, to something that is controlled by Muslims.
Yes.
It would one day, but not yet.
Another hot take we received with regards to the Ram Mandir was that the Ram Mandir judgment and the building of the Ram Mandir and the fact that the Ram Mandir stands where it stands is a symbol that the inclusiveness of India is getting eroded, the pluralism of India is getting lost, and it signifies the end of India's syncretic culture.
चप्पल लाना जरा 1 मिनट चल. साइज 11 लाना. किसने कहा जरा नाम?
मेरा ले लो, I'm size 14, मेरा ले लो.
एक कंबल भी लाना जरा. कब चप्पल भिगो गया, भिगोई वाली चप्पल ले लिया. I mean, people have gone completely crazy, yeah. But these are the signs of the times we live in. That and these are all, I call them children of Goebbels, because Goebbels had said, accuse the other person of what you are guilty of. That's the first rule of propaganda. कि वो कहे यार क्या कर रहे हो भाई, वो उसी में घूमता रह जाए कि भाई ये तो तुमने किया है.
Anand, that's what you should have done in court. No, sir, you are in contempt.
But and I'll tell you, see, but to be serious, these things come up because of our textbooks, the way we are taught. It also comes up because of the ignorance of our governments, successive governments. I mean, you want to take BJP's name? Of course you do. But let me also say this. Let me give you 3 examples of how Congress is responsible for this, for injecting this poison in our collective psyche. Talked of collective shame. There is something called collective psyche, maybe. So it was in 1951 that Nehru, in the wake of when Sardar Patel wanted the consecration of Somnath to be rebuilt, he said, I fear it will bring about Hindu revivalism. He didn't go there. He demanded that the president should not go and inaugurate it. Of course, thankfully, the president ignored Nehru. But that put the seed in, this kind of pseudo-secularism. That put the seed in 1959, during the time of Nehru, Congress partly overturned the Supreme Court judgment, the Sringeri Mutt judgment 1954, and brought in the Endowments Act, started controlling the Hindu temples. And then you look at, for example, the Places of Worship Act brought about by the Congress. Yes, BJP should have abrogated it, but Congress brought it. The most anti-Hindu act you can ever imagine happened there. And then in 1968, there were some Congress leaders, Sham, that were in that fraudulent Krishna Janambhoomi Sansthan that sold off those 2 acres to the Muslim Eidgah side. And for the next 50 years, it is the Congress that has been saying, "Arey bhai, Krishna Janambhoomi वापस नहीं लीजिए because वो तो हो चुका है. We have already solved it." So, if you look at Somnath, if you look at 1968 Mathura, if you look at, and Congress has said that Gyan Vyapi is a glorious emblem, symbolic of secularism. If you look at Kashi Vishwanath, if you look at Place of Worship Act, तो भाई ये एंटी हिंदू सिविलाइजेशन कौन है? ये राणा अयूब नहीं है यार. Rana Ayub is anti-Hindu civilization, maybe because of other reasons, because she's been demanded of that. She's been forced to do it. But who was forcing Congress to do this? So you can imagine somebody who is very hardcore or very pious Muslim who reads the Islamic scriptures. He will have views about the infidels or the polytheists that are emanating from, what he's read. But there are these anti-infidel, if I can call it, or anti-Hindu views of Congress emanating from. कौन सी scripture से यार ये समझ में नहीं आया
ये कौन सा स्क्रिप्चर है भैया?
इसके लिए वो भीग गई चप्पल. हाँ ले
मैं कुरियर करता हूँ अपना साइज 14.
It's crazy.
Another hot take that came to us
In no other
was
No, I'm saying
another hot take that go on. You say it first.
I'm saying it brings us back to the cycle completes when you were talking about how can the majority be subjected to apartheid. Now you see how
now you see how it happened.
It's crazy.
Another hot take that we got was why are so many Bollywood actors getting invitations?
Right.
Is it okay that we abuse all these Bollywood actors for most of the year and then still send them invitations?
Yeah. As I said, I don't want to, invitation is something which it's the trust. If it was a political thing, then I would have put my views more vociferously. For example, during the inauguration of the new parliament, when the Sengol, the scepter, our civilizational heritage of the Cholas and everything was to be thing, I was very angry and I said the president should have been invited. The president should have done it. She is the head of state, she or he, the president, and the supreme commander of our armed forces. And it is the president wasn't even invited to that function. There I can be vociferous. Yahan pe it's a personal, it's a private trust. But of course, BJP would have had some, vetting who to invite, who not to invite. I doubt whether the head Panditji of the Ram Lalla's temple knows about Alia Bhatt or Ranveer. I doubt it very much. तो उनको भी लिस्ट दी गई होगी. और कल को भाई वो पंडित जी कहे यार वो को मिल गई.
Very suspicious that सबसे पहले जो invitations थे वो सब actresses को गए line से.
Yeah, so it's on them, but it's sad. As I said, I already said it. It's sad for me personally that Alia has it and president doesn't. I think it really very jarring, to be honest with you. Very jarring. I don't know the way it goes. I think. But ultimately, as I said, trust me, all this is just complete water under the bridge. I don't care who goes. I don't care which species goes. गिलहरी भी जाए, छोटी सी गिलहरी जाए, बंदर जाए, अपने हिरन जाए, कुत्ते जाए, बिल्ली जाए, आदमी जाए. सबसे जरूरी चीज ये है कि 21st generation is going to see a temple there, which previous 20 generations could not. I think that is something so profound. I can't it's difficult to express it in any other way.
Yeah.
So Alia aaye, Ranveer aaye, Akshay aaye, really doesn't matter. Rana aaye.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is that this whole court case, Ram Janambhoomi case, they have also given an invitation to the Muslim guy who actually first filed in the petition. I don't know what to say of that.
So
Prithviraj Singh,
we have seen some Muslims that have said, we would like to contribute to the temple, or we would like to visit the temple, and
I respect,
want to celebrate.
And I respect all three of them.
So, So there are some people that say कि नहीं इनको राम मंदिर के पास बिल्कुल भी allow नहीं करना चाहिए. Do you think that the three Muslims that do want to consider this as part of their heritage or that do want to pay their respects, do you think that they should be allowed to do so?
Yes, yes. I think because, as I said, this is something that is our civilization. This is not Hindu-Muslim at all. And I think I don't know. I have many Muslims who are so proud that this is happening. I wouldn't right now like to name them because
Sure.
you know what will happen. The Rana youths of the world are going to target them because of that.
Yeah.
They are going to be ostracized. They're going to be cancelled.
And there's it's a bloody physical safety at risk also.
That also, but I have to also say this, that in public eye, for example, let's say Shehzad says that this, and Rana says cancel him. Shehzad कहेगा अरे कर दो cancel यार. Academic अगर cancel होता है ना, उसकी life change हो जाती है यार.
Yeah.
His life changes. So I know a few Muslim academics who are really looking forward to 22nd Jan. Genuinely are.
Yeah.
One of them is even going there.
I think that's
उसको
wonderful.
पता नहीं है कि वो वहां पे रहेगा कहाँ, कहेगा मैं रेलवे स्टेशन पे रह लूंगा इससे. He doesn't know.
Wow.
He's a Muslim.
That's incredible.
He's going.
I also openly support it because on the one hand we can't have two standards, right? On the one hand we cannot say कि ये Muslims जो हैं ये Indian civilization को अपना culture नहीं मानते. On the other hand जब वो मानने की कोशिश करते हैं तो हम बोलते हैं कि नहीं तुम मंदिर में नहीं घुस सकते तुम मुसलमान हो. Right?
उसमें भी मैं
So we have to
qualify करूंगा. Yes, I think it's fantastic. I don't make any distinction between people who love Ram. Who are those people? I don't. So Muslims, it's fantastic.
Correct.
But उनको भी ना थोड़ा सा ignorance का वेल हटाना पड़ेगा. जैसे मैं कई लोगों को देख रहा था, many of the Muslims who are not just ambivalent towards this, they are looking forward to this. They have started citing this rogue called Iqbal, कि राम को उन्होंने इमाम कहा था हमारा, जो भी यार ये इकबाल बीच में मत लाओ. So that guy was a extremist before ISIS. Basically, in fact, he was ISIS. He said, and I'm quoting him, he said, I confess to be a pan-Islamist. My role and that or the role of every Muslim is to purge every idol, remove infidelity from the world. अब ऐसे लोग को आप कोट मत करो. तो ये थोड़ा सा उनको भी सीखना चाहिए यार कि some sensibility has to come in, but I really like it, especially this Muslim colleague of mine. I thought it was so beautiful. He said हम स्टेशन पे सो लेंगे लेकिन मैं जाऊंगा जरूर.
I believe we should welcome them. I believe we should encourage them. I believe we should provide them with this support system because I know that within their community, that support system will not be as forthcoming. And so I believe that people that want to build bridges, we should help them in building those bridges.
Absolutely.
Last couple of questions before I let you go. I know I've already kept you around for a while.
No, not at all. It's an absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
Chalo, I'm glad. So last few questions. This is the rapid fire round. So I'm going to ask you some questions, and if you want, you can give me questions as quickly or as slowly as you want.
The last time I heard somebody doing the rapid fire was Karan Johar. I'm not making any connection there.
Ironically, I also am drinking coffee. So there you go. I have completely not stolen the idea from anyone. So question number one, what according to you is the worst trend in India right now?
Worst trend?
Okay.
I think this TikTok business, but I think I don't know how this reel business, it's very annoying. It's very annoying because I think everything is just taken, I don't know how to put it. Yeah, it's just, even on YouTube, okay, I'll tell you, you type, for example, Sham Sharma on YouTube. You don't even get proper videos now.
That's how you get reels first.
Yes.
तो
मतलब अब YouTube पे वीडियो नहीं मिल रहा है आपको अच्छा, और उन वीडियो पे आपको you can't, maybe it's just my I haven't really set the whole system done properly. You can't, there are no comments in there. You can't control the speed of it or whatever, and they're like proliferating like a virus,
Oh yeah.
You try it. You type your name in there, and the first 20 things would be not YouTube videos at all. YouTube पे YouTube videos नहीं मिल रहे यार, क्या होगा? So
That's true.
everyone's just doing it for like, couple of minutes, 1 minute.
Yeah.
And it's not that that is wrong. Too much of just one thing is wrong. That is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So they're trying to condense everything as if 1 minute you talk about something for 1 minute and it will make sense. ये बहुत
Right.
dangerous trend है यार.
Yeah.
You can't just convert poetry, prose to poetry. Yaar. You need prose. You need to understand. You need to go into the depths of something. I mean, there is a reason why
True.
Naipaul is not a poet, and there is a reason
True.
why poets are respected and admired, and I do admire them. But
Right.
everything has its place. You can't just have one thing. Yeah. So this real thing is very
Yeah.
unnerving for me.
According to you, what is the dumbest political or cultural opinion or narrative that is bandied around in India today?
That we are secular.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
According to you, what is the biggest issue, the biggest challenge facing India today?
I think it's the economy that we are still, even this government, is not quite the CPIM as far as it comes to economy, but it's left wing. And I
Okay.
think the only thing that can get us out of this, I'm not saying it's a rut now. Of course, we are growing, but I would like myself to be belonging to a country that has a GDP per capita of $15,000. Yeah.
Right.
Stuck at 2,000, 2,500. It'll be,
Right.
we're not, I mean, to reach middle income economy, we have to do a few things. We're just not doing it. The farm laws was just one example of how it would have catapulted us. I don't want to give numbers here, but just one number: 44% of our active labor force of 515 million people are involved in agriculture. Agriculture contributes only 13% to our GDP. In the West, 2 to 3% of the labor force is involved in agriculture.
Yeah.
Here, 250, 300 million people are involved in something that's not contributing enough to the GDP. Yeah? And the farm laws would have changed all that. And
Yeah.
we reneged on it, we repealed on it, and we didn't do that. So we're not going for the reforms that we should. That is what is the biggest issue for me.
What gives you the most amount of hope for India?
I think the democracy. It really, I think, all said and done, there's so much. I absolutely do not believe in the fact that all our institutions have been bought, like the Congress says. Congress has been bought. That is another matter.
Right.
But there is still hope is because of justice. There is no other reason for hope, because left to a politician, every politician likes to spread his or her aura, decisions, and kind of stamp his or her name on everything around every politician. It is just the justice that differentiates from whether there is any hope or there isn't any hope. So I think a lot of things are wrong with our judiciary, of course, collegium system, this and that, but it is functional. And I'm not just saying this after having
Right.
said all those things in the beginning of the program. Really, I'm not. I'm genuinely thankful that we have a functional judiciary.
Right. Do you watch any movies or TV?
Yes, a lot. Absolutely. I do. Yeah.
In that case, what is your favorite genre to watch, and what is your current favorite movie or TV show?
Okay, so right, I get this asked a lot, so I decided, let me make my top 10. I think
Arey wow, good, perfect.
that would be helpful, because otherwise, from the
People are always looking for things to watch, so
Yeah.
yeah, this will be good for them. Yeah.
Yes, because otherwise, I mean, lately, for example, I and this was a recommendation by Sushant Sareen
Acha.
about Slow Horses. It's a lovely program, spy thriller about
Apple TV, right?
that's on Apple TV. Yeah, so it was very good. But so this is which I have also labeled as the greatest television series in history, ranked.
Oh wow.
So don't go anywhere. So number one, The Decalogue by Kieslowski, all episodes. Number two, The Wire, not our
Not that.
Not that, please. इतना गया भी का नहीं.
Let it be known that the news website The Wire is the #2 favorite thing of Anand Ranganathan.
अरे पिटवाओगे यार.
ये ये काट के सोशल मीडिया पे डालना
Oh
एडिटर.
my God. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? उठा ले बाबा, उठा ले. So number 2, Wire Series 2, all episodes. Number 3, Wire Series 4, all episodes. Number 4, Marcella Series 2, all episodes. Number 5, Wire Series 1, all episodes. Number 6, Wire Series 3, all episodes. Number 7,
ये तो
Wire.
चीटिंग है. ये एक ही शो आपने 5 बार यूज कर लिया.
I mean, so basically, what I'm trying to get at is that Wire was possibly one of the greatest shows ever made.
It's a
Number
great
7,
show.
Wire Series 5, all episodes. Number 8, Modern Love Series 1, all episodes.
अच्छा.
Number 9, Breaking Bad, all seasons, all episodes. Number 10, The Fall Series 1, all episodes. Number 11, The Sopranos, all series, all episodes. Number 12, Ray Donovan, season 7, all episodes. And number 13, Fargo.
Fargo, which one? The movie or the TV show?
The TV show. The TV show.
Acha, acha, acha. Have you seen all seasons of Fargo?
Yeah, I think I have. Yes.
Acha.
Yeah.
Fargo's a great show. A great movie also. Have you seen the movie?
I can't remember if I've. Oh yes, the
movie is
Oscar,
great.
Actually, one Oscar.
I
Isn't
think it's Coen Brothers. It's a great
That's
movie.
right. That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great movie. And it's got the protagonist on it. So I live in the US in an area that's called the Midwest.
Right.
And the protagonist has a very Midwestern, slightly comic Midwestern accent. And
See,
I can't tell you how many people around me have that very same accent.
It's a woman, I think, who's the police inspector.
Yeah. The police officer.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Well, that's good. I usually, I'm glad you were able to give some recommendations, because usually I ask this question and most people are just like, pata nahi. But I'm glad I was able to get a recommendation from you.
All 13.
Good, great. What is a guilty pleasure movie,
Okay.
or a book or a TV show or music that you are slightly embarrassed to admit that you really enjoy?
Oh, so guilty pleasure movie was Tarzan with Amy Katkar and Hemant.
Oh, nice. Oh,
So
we're learning things about Anand today.
What really gives me pleasure is that you start watching a movie that is so bad, and about half an hour into it, because
It just entrances you.
oh my God, it's like, something happens that it becomes the best movie ever. And this
Yes.
Amy Katkar and Hemant Birje was like, it was so bad, but it's so good. Ye kaise hua?
Yes. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I love movies like that. That are just, it's so bad. It's like a car crash. You can't look away.
absolutely.
What is something? It could be a book, it could be a song, it could be a movie or TV show. Something that everybody likes, but you don't.
Oh, there are so many. There's so many. It's very difficult to. A song everyone likes that I don't.
You could pick just one. You don't have to name a movie, song separately. Just pick one thing out of that list. Everybody seems to like, but you don't get the hype.
Oops, I'm tongue-tied actually, because I think I have a.
This is an achievement for the Sham Sharma show. Anand Ranganathan is tongue-tied. Isko bookmark करके रखेंगे हम वीडियो में.
But I'll tell you, most of the time, I like watching things on my own. Listening things on my own. I'm very possessive about if I like something, if I start to like something, I'm very possessive about even the slightest disturbance, sound kind of, disturbs my concentration in there. So I watch it on my own, and then out of politeness and respect that others shouldn't mind, I watch it with, sometimes like my wife, अरे मैंने नहीं देखा पर मैं देख चुका होता हूँ उसको. ये बुरा ना मान जा, अच्छा अकेले सब देख लेते हो तुम, But so, okay, so for example, Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum, a lot of, I didn't like that movie at all. In fact,
Don't get the hype.
Yeah. And I want to do things to people who read the Hindu, the newspaper.
It's true.
Does that, has my tongue started working again?
Yes, it has.
Yes.
A lot of my compatriots from Bihar, वो बेचारे they're like the monkeys in that khujli wala ad. ये वो मजबूर है because it's part of their UPSC curriculum. तो बेचारे मजबूर हैं, उनको मजबूरी में
Yes.
पढ़ना पड़ता है.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Yes.
What is a real life character, current or historical, that you would love to see a movie or TV show made about?
Oh, okay. I think Indian scientists. So,
Yeah.
in fact, me and my, the co-author book is coming in about, I would say, end of this year. It's been delayed a bit on forgotten Indian scientists. I mean, some of those stories are just unbelievable. You feel, how come these people should have got 3 Nobel Prizes? They haven't even got 1 Padma Shri. That kind of a thing. So that those things should be known, to every Indian. So those are the people,
Right.
those are real heroes, and we just don't know them. I think that's very sad. That's very sad.
You remember that R. Raghavan movie, The Rocketry?
Yes.
That was
yes,
such a good movie. I feel like they should make more movies like that.
yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Very finally, I will ask you, after the Ram Mandir,
Yes.
what's next?
On that civilizational path,
Yes.
Kashi Vishwanath.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It has to be. Gyan Vyapi has to be reclaimed. I cannot imagine Hindus have been forced to look at that for 400 years. You can see the pillars here.
Yeah. अयोध्या में तो at least वो visual, बेइज्जती भी नहीं थी. But यहाँ पे तो you can see it
You
with
can
your own
see
eyes.
it. So, and people don't realize it. That was on purpose. You part demolish something so that ye dekho, ye kiya hai. There is even that meme. I don't quite like that meme, but it's very perceptive that Manoj Vajpayee, I think, कौन सी movie है, कह के he's
कह के लूंगा.
वो ऐसे ना एक को पकड़ा हुआ और ये ऐसे दिखा रहा है, देख. That is what Hindus have been subjected to, for 500, 600 years. ये देखो.
I mean, you think about it, when they demolished all those temples in Mandir in Delhi to build the Qutub Minar.
Yes, 27.
What did they call the mosque?
Yeah.
What did they call the mosque? They call it Quwwatul Islam Mosque,
Yes.
Power of Islam Mosque.
Absolutely.
हमने ये किया है तुम्हारे साथ, तुम जिंदगी भर याद रखो.
Yes. और इंस्क्रिप्शन
That was the idea.
हम लोगों ने आफ्टर इंडिपेंडेंस साला वहां लिख भी दी, एक्सप्लेन भी कर रहे हैं क्या. If you look at the ASI, inscription there, those buggers have written it down. So they are part of it. They are celebrating the humiliation. And that is just so unacceptable to me. Bakhtiarpur comes to mind immediately. साले उसने नालंदा जलाया, उस जगह का नाम तुमने बख्तियारपुर रख दिया यार. रेलवे स्टेशन का नाम बख्तियार, मतलब क्या हो रहा है यार.
Yeah. Imagine Tel Aviv getting named after Hitler. What a crazy thing to think about.
It's crazy. It's like, it's just, but I just wish, change, Sham, all said and done, has to come. I'm a big proponent that the change always comes from top down. You can talk about things from bottom up, जो कि हम कर रहे हैं. आप कह सकते हो कि यार ये आजकल ना नया शुरू हो गया कि देखो मोदी जी हैं इसलिए आप ये सब बातें कर रहे हो. यार ऐसा कुछ नहीं. थोड़ा पढ़ लो आप. You will know that whatever we've done, there were people who've done 1,000 times more, like Sitaram Goyal ji, so many others. I put Arun Shori in it. Now he's not the flavor of the season, rightfully so, because I don't know what's happened to him. Maybe वो जो कॉफी आप सिप कर रहे हो, करण जौहर वाली कॉफी पी ली है उन्होंने, इसलिए कुछ था. अफगानिस्तान की एपीएमसी मंडी से कुछ था उसमें.
Right.
But the fact, he was a colossus. He opened.
He is. He's still
is.
It doesn't invalidate the work that he has
So
done.
when people feel, now the atmosphere has been made that we are talking about it. No. People have always talked about it. It's just the fact that now we were, for the last 10 years, in a situation to change it. We haven't changed it. That is the reason why I bloody wrote the book. कि यार वो 8 चीजें तो करो कम से कम. बातें तो हर कोई कर रहा है, So I just feel the time is just absolutely right. People from off the top have to stand up. People at the bottom have stood up. They have.
Yeah.
Now it's up to the people at the top.
Yeah. And so for you, Kashi Vishwanath is absolutely next.
Top में आप जानते हैं कौन है?
बिल्कुल. 100%.
Yes.
And finally, what do you make of this? There's a lot of जब भी हम बात करते हैं कि and I'm of a very firm belief that it's very important for us to reclaim these important historical markers. It's a civilizational injustice that needs to be remedied.
Yes.
ठीक है, मैं तो इतना मानता हूँ कि my goal in my lifetime is to go to Skardu Lake and perform a puja there. जहाँ वहाँ पे हम मंदिर बनवाएंगे और वहाँ पर हम पूजा करेंगे. That is my goal because वो हमारी जमीन है, that needs to be reintegrated. 10% because उन्होंने वो लोन पे ले रखी है, I believe.
Yes.
एंड वो लोन हमको वापस लेना है. एंड 10% ब्याज में अगर हमको आप चित्राल भी देना चाहते हैं तो आई डोंट माइंड इट एट ऑल. बट दैट इज माई गोल, दैट्स द लेवल ऑफ रेक्लेमेशन दैट आई एम लुकिंग एट. बट पीपल विल ऑफ्टन टर्न अराउंड एंड से कि यार दिस इज अ वेरी स्लिपरी स्लोप. वंस यू स्टार्ट टॉकिंग अबाउट रिक्लेमिंग दिस रिक्लेमिंग दैट, मुसलमानों के लिए तो कुछ बचेगा ही नहीं. व्हाट डू यू मेक ऑफ दैट आर्गुमेंट?
Nee, एक second. There is something to be. That's why now you see it comes back to this. Why I wanted everything to be done through the legal route. Because once you do that, then the demographics or the identities of the person is inconsequential. And I've said it before. If a Buddhist has a claim to something that was destroyed by a Hindu king, or if a Muslim feels that his mosque is part demolished and a temple built over it, पहले तो ये ढूंढ के लाओ, ऐसा था ही नहीं, पर अगर है, मैं उसके साथ जाऊंगा यार, मैं कोर्ट जाऊंगा. So why shouldn't you may either finally adjudicate in the favor of the person who's asking for that historical injustice to be corrected, or you may not. But you can't deny that person's walk towards the court. That is what's happening right now. So how can that be कि कुछ बचेगा ही नहीं? है एक एक चीज के लिए कोर्ट जाओ, एक एक चीज के लिए लड़ो, और ये लड़ना पड़ेगा शैम. ये और कोई रास्ता नहीं है. Because what Tagore said, people are only realizing now what he said 100 years ago. He said there are only two religions on earth that are intent upon destroying every other religion. And those two religions are Christianity and Islam. This is Rabindranath Tagore said it. Was he a Sanghi like us? नहीं. उनको तो सुन लो यार, हमें नहीं सुन लो, अलग बात है.
अंबेडकर जी को ही सुन लो. अंबेडकर जी तो उनके भगवान है. अंबेडकर जी को ही सुन लो.
पर वो सुनेंगे.
He's been very candid about it.
So, because they only appropriate things that they like. That's the. So it's not a question of. And as I said, when people say faith is a very personal thing, तो यार आप उसको वाकई पर्सनल मानो. For a Muslim, for a Hindu, अगर आप कहते हो faith personal है, अपने कमरे में रखो, लेकिन civilizational personal नहीं है. I am proud of my civilization and the heritage. So that is not personal. I'll fight for it. And it's not just a question of 3. It could be a question of 3,000 or 30,000 or 300,000. Fight for each one of those.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great note to end today's podcast on. Once again, I want to thank Anand for taking this much time out of his day to speak to me. I'm very glad we were able to get this organized. I hope you had a great time, Anand, because I had a lot of fun.
Fantastic time, and I must apologize to you, Sham. I think time difference has got a lot to do with it. WhatsApp when I was messaging you, bro, aaj karen. You read it like 12 hours later.
I was like asleep, yeah.
And when you said, hey, Anand, can we do it tonight? It was like 2 a.m. in the morning. So it was like, but we managed it in the end. That is what happened.
Yes, and hopefully this is the first of many. And I'd love to have you back and discuss some more issues with you as well, because in this conversation I feel like we barely scratched the surface. So there's so much I can talk.
And you're coming to India, so yes. So I think we'll have a podcast when I cook for you, and we'll have it live.
All right, perfect. We'll do a cooking show.
We'll
And I'll have you.
We'll have Abhijit.
We'll do a podcast while we're preparing the meal.
We'll have Abhijit as the judge.
Done. Done. I think that's a fantastic idea. Let's do that. So, guys, Anand Ranganathan, thank you very much for taking the time today. Hindus in Hindu Rashtra is his book. It is a bestseller already, but I urge people that haven't checked it out yet to please go to Amazon, search the book, please buy it. Please support independent authors like that, that are not backed by any ecosystem. ये लोग अपनी मेहनत करके किताबें लिखते हैं, निकालते हैं, research करते हैं, and इन लोगों को support करना, encourage करना बहुत जरूरी है.
And if I can just add 30 seconds to that, it's not just about supporting me, because I'm very grateful for everyone's love and support, but there are people who need it more than I do. And as I've said it before, all the royalties of this book are going towards Hindu refugee causes. and I've already, I think, given it 5 times. The whole bolus is now, I think, 7-8 lakhs have been given to Hindu refugees who've come from Pakistan,
Wow.
to Kashmiri Hindus who've been displaced here. So I think it's a noble cause, and I think
Yes.
it is for us civilizational Hindus or believer Hindus to kind of work for our own people, because they've been
Yes.
discriminated against, and it would have rankled in me if I wrote about the plight of the Hindus and I earned money through it. It's something would have rankled in me. So it would have
Right.
been a disaster porn, as they say. So
Right.
whatever, you've been very kind, all of you. If 59,000 copies have been sold, they've been sold because we care about those people who are at the receiving end. I am not at the
Yeah.
receiving end. We aren't, but those people are.
Yes.
And in very precarious circumstances. I mean, believe me, to be a Hindu in India, yes, is bad, but to be a Hindu in Pakistan, I mean, you can just imagine what happens day
Yeah.
in, day out. I was with Arif Ji. He is a Pakistani. I think he's settled abroad now, or maybe he's still in Pakistan. I don't remember. And he was talking about the shocking destruction of all the Hindu temples that goes on, and
Mm.
they made it into toilets in cafeterias, and basically they want every other religion obliterated from there.
And when they run out of Hindus, they'll do it to Ahmadiyas and Shias.
They
And when they
already
run
are.
out of those,
They
they'll do it
already
to
are.
themselves.
They
Yeah.
already are. I mean, the Shias are persecuted. Ahmadiyas. It's
Yeah.
funny that they're not considered as Muslims at all. In fact, there's a very funny story because Abdul Salam, I mean, the Nobel laureate, he was an
Yeah.
Ahmadiyya. He was the first Muslim to get the Nobel Prize in physics. And on his tomb, when he died, on the tomb was, they put in there, Abdul Salam. Here lies Abdul Salam, the first Muslim Nobel laureate.
Mm.
The Pakistani administration was so incensed that he's an Ahmadiyya. How can he be Muslim? They ordered
Wow.
the word Muslim to be removed from there. So even
Wow.
now, you go to see his tomb, it says Abdul Salam, the first Nobel laureate, which is obviously, you know, that is
Oh,
the extent to which they will
it's
go.
incredible that we have the same bloody DNA with those guys. Incredible. Well, again, thanks, Anand. This was a lot of fun,
Yes.
guys. This hopefully we'll try to get this out right before the Pran Pratishthan ceremony. So, this will be a great lead up into that, and we'd love to have you back. Hopefully, we can organize again. In a couple of months' time, so that would be fun. And when we come to India, I'll hold you to that promise.
And come to India sooner. I mean, how many times a year do you make it to India?
So over the pandemic years, I wasn't able to come that often, obviously because of the pandemic. But now I'm gonna try and come at least twice a year.
That's wonderful. Yeah, you must.
Yeah, at least twice a year.
Absolutely.
So just stick around with me offline for 1 second while the recording finishes, Anand. And to the rest of the audience, guys, if you enjoy these episodes, please like, share, subscribe, all of that fun stuff. Abuse us in the comment section as well. That also helps the algorithm. So gali bhi deni hai to chalega. Baki, we'll see you for the next one. If you want to suggest more guests, please let us know in the comment section. We'll see you next time. Tab tak ke liye, tata, bye bye.